Hi, my name's James and I've come here to Lanzhou, which is the largest city in northwest China. And you can see if you look behind, it's raining quite a lot today. And usually that would clear the air, but the air behind me is still pretty thick with smog, which just shows how polluted this city is. And it's meant to have one of the worst rates of air pollution anywhere in the world. It's got about 3 to 4 million inhabitants, and so it really is quite a big population centre up here. Just like any city, there's lots of people, there's lots of cars, it's very noisy. You can see there's not particularly clean in the world. As the river rushes under the bridge, you really can see why it's called the Yellow River. It's this very thick yellowy brown colour because of all the sediment and dust and sand that it's transporting. Despite the fact that it looks like there's a lot of water around us, actually this area is semi-arid. It only receives about 300 millimeters or so of water a year in terms of rainfall. And so it's actually very deceptive. The air around us is very dry for much of the year, and water is a very precious resource which has to be used extremely carefully. This is the loess which produces a lot of the yellow soil which we see in the Yellow River and which makes the yellow dust which spreads across eastern China. Now, Gansu province is actually twice the size of the Korean peninsula, but already 30% of the area of this province is suffering from severe desertification. And you can see the evidence of it around me. You can see these walls of yellow soil which have been eroded. What this process does is it takes away the integrity of the soil, and it means that it can turn to dust and be swept up by the wind and turn into these yellow dust storms which are becoming increasingly frequent in East China and across the sea in Korea and Japan. Pretty amazing planned settlement this. It could only happen in a centrally planned economy like China's. There's about 1,000 houses spread out through this town, which is actually a new city built for herders who can no longer herd their goats and sheep because of the processes of desertification which are happening out in the countryside and in the mountains. It's a very strange sight. You just couldn't see it in another country, I don't think. It's just, they're so perfectly aligned with a neat little courtyards, but at the same time, always looking very modest.
那以前放牧是在山上吗？在哪里放牧？在哪里放牧？
在山里啊。
哦。那里怎么样？环境怎么样？
环境，透着放着你们啊。 这就咋出来花钱呢嘛？反正这里就是。
那以前还是养羊好啊，还是到这里好啊？以前还是
我是这养羊好，喂牛好。以后我们还昨天说的，咱到这地方过吃出去，不能吃，打过去就比较公家地很。现在也就是这种个事啊。
One of the things we found out was that actually, although they find it more comfortable to live here because there is a school, there are facilities for them to use, some of them actually miss the way of life of rearing sheep in the countryside in the mountains. And this city is right on the edge of the Gobi Desert, and it's at the forefront of the fight against desertification in China. There are real concerns about severe desertification happening throughout the country. I'm visiting a farm which is responsible for growing these specially bred conifer trees which are specially adapted to desert conditions. Now in this farm alone there are 100,000 trees, but there are lots and lots of farms in this area. The trees in this area are about 4 years old and ready to be taken and planted in the desert, but they're brought here as saplings at just 1 year old and planted in a field like this. And so it really is a big business to grow these trees, and private individuals do it themselves and actually sell the trees to the government. Years and years of local experience and local knowledge have led the Chinese government to choose these trees. They're very hardy in these dry conditions. You can see the soil is very, very sandy, not very moist at all. And so they've chosen these ones because they have a superior survival percentage compared to other species. Up to 80% of these trees survive. But now I'm trying to dig it out in the hot midday sun, and it's not an easy job, but presumably that means that it's well set in, which bodes well for its future. So I've got this conifer tree here, and I'm going to take it with me to the Kaputchi Desert in Inner Mongolia. And what I'll do is when I get there I'll plant it and hopefully help to join the fight against desertification which is happening in that part of northwestern China.